All right. Hello, everyone. This is Roxana Bangura, starting recording. This is Roxana Bangura of the Bangura Chronicles, Diaspora Voices. And I have the pleasure of speaking with Chef Luci of the ENUGU Restaurant located in Puebla here in Mexico. And welcome, Chef Luci. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Roxana.
Okay. So let me just share with you all how I found the Enugu restaurant in Puebla here in Mexico. I was scrolling Instagram and I came across the Enugu restaurant, and she has all the dishes that I eat, West African food, Nigerian food, and I was like, oh, I can get okra. If you follow me on the Bangura Chronicles on YouTube, the Bangura Chronicles on Facebook, or if you follow me in general, I'm obsessed with okra. I talk about okra a lot. It's like maybe my favorite vegetable to eat in life. So I knew if I connected with Inugu Restaurant that they would get me okra. So that was the motivation. And she was kind enough. We started corresponding. And then my daughter and I went to her restaurant, Inugu in Puebla. We went there last weekend. We went there to eat. We stuffed our faces. The food was delicious, muy riquísimo, sabroso, and we even got food to take away. So that's how I came to learn about the Enugu restaurant.
I
Chef Luci,
and it was
yes,
quite
you have the
challenging
floor.
because you came up and you gave me these special indications on how you wanted your okra soup to be. You were like, no oil, no this, no that, and I had to
Right.
modify certain things
Yes.
there, and it came out really, really nice without palm
Thank
oil.
you. Thank you. I forgot to mention that. I
Thank
did
you.
I did
And
say I don't eat this, I can't eat that, and she customized it for me. And it was just like eating home food. It was so delicious. It was seafood, fish, and just how we make it. My family, my mom. That's what I grew up on eating. We call it wetokra. Wetokra means okra without palm oil, and it was delicious. I don't know, me and palm oil, I don't know, we're not friends anymore. Like we're just not friends anymore. We weren't friends for some time, but we're really not friends anymore. And I know it's like, how could you not eat palm oil? You're West African, but I can't. I
I
don't
think
digest it as well.
I thank you very much because it's like a new option on our menu, and it's something healthier for many people that might be in the same case. I mean, personally, I don't have issues with palm oil. We're still friends, but we're not that close.
Mhm.
So I try to avoid palm oil. Yes.
Yes, I can't eat it regularly. And like I said, she accommodated me. She made it custom for me, and it was delicious. My daughter had stew, and there wasn't a grain of rice left on the plate. We had appetizers. Literally, there wasn't a grain of rice left on the plate. Um, which let's talk about. The restaurant name is Enugu. Enugu is a state in Nigeria. Okay, so share with us a bit about the state of Enugu in Nigeria, and how you came to be, and tell us about Enugu a bit.
Okay. Enugu is the eastern side of Nigeria, which is one of the ethnic language speakers in the country, which is probably Igbo, my native language. So yeah, we're from the eastern side. It's one of the coldest part of Nigeria. I'm not saying it's the coldest, and we're mostly like on the mountain sides. So it's an amazing place with lots of architectural designs and of course natural or tourist places you can visit. Um, One interesting fact about Enugu would be our accent because we do have like different, villages and all that. It might be like the same Igbo language, but then we do have like different words or different pronunciations or accents to certain words, which makes it a little bit confusing, but also interesting. So yeah, so I thought about naming our restaurant here, Enugu, our because it's for everyone. So Enugu literally means on the mountain, which is Enu, up, and then Ugu, mountain. On the mountain, it's a mountainous part of the country, and it's a
Yes.
part I'd love you guys to visit someday in Nigeria.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, Nigeria is on the list. I haven't been, but it is on the list. And I have, friends who are Igbo. There's a state, I want to call it Anambria. It's a beautiful name. Is it Anambria? Am I saying it correctly?
Yes, Anambra. It's another Igbo speaking part from the
Yes,
east.
I have friends from there. I have friends from there. I worked with people from Port Harcourt, and my cousin who saw your I posted photos of your restaurant and everything, and his dad was Igbo. Ejiogu was the last name. So he liked, and yeah, Ejiogu, my cousin. So on my maternal side. So uh his he liked and loved all the different Enugu, words. His last name is Ejiogu. So we tease him, we call him Edgio, goo, 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 goo. We tease him. That's what we call him. His dad was Igbo, his mother was Gambian, and his mother was my mother's cousin. That's
Okay.
how we're related. So he went down all the pictures and loved all the pictures. So that was really nice. Yeah, Edgio, goo, 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 goo. That's what we call him. Um, Now you talk about Enugu. It's mountainous. It's cool. It's a little bit colder than the other parts of Nigeria, and how did that come into play with well, maybe I'm skipping it a bit. You're from Enugu. I want to understand what made you choose Mexico to make your home, to have a career.
Right. Um, it's a very long story, but I will cut it short, of course. So
Okay.
I just finished some part of my education, and of course, my parents wanted something different for me, especially my mom, because my dad really wanted me to grow up in Nigeria so I don't lose our roots. And of course, looking into the financial situation back then, it wasn't something he could, fully jump into. So I came down to Mexico to further my education. Even though I had opportunities to like visit and live in other countries like the US and some parts in Europe, um, I couldn't find any other place better than Mexico. I felt very welcomed. The people were very kind. It was strange being in a country where I couldn't even speak the country. Back then, I'd use like the train or public transport, and the men would be so gentle that they literally get up for me to sit. And this is the opposite back home, where we women try to, treat our men like kings and all that. So the culture here was like a big crash at the beginning, but thankfully I was able to adapt. I started learning the language, the culture, something that can never get boring, the music and all that. And then looking into the gastronomy here in Mexico, I noticed how they have many options, and each state had its own variety. So I was like, this is it. And I'm a very picky person when it comes to food, from the presentation to how it tastes to how it smells or the texture. And I could go far, away from my comfort zone just to get to somewhere to have something that I really, really want to enjoy. So I thought of how I could give back to the community here in Mexico. I thought of something that could connect Nigeria with Mexico. So I decided to start working with ENUGU project. At the beginning, I was trying to use my cabin, which is a small place where I live and rent, and I thought maybe I could convert my home. I make it like a homey kitchen where people can come, feel at home, and enjoy our cuisine. But I noticed that it wasn't safe also for me, and of course, I thought it wasn't big enough for the entire public, and also receiving strangers or people into my home wasn't a good idea. So I decided to get our location, which is very close to University of Buap here in Mexico. So I decided to start working with vegan options, vegetarian options, things for children, and making it more like, here in Mexico, they call it fonda or comida corrida, which is like an economical or an affordable small cuisine where people can have a quick lunch and then head back to work. So I tried not to make it look very fancy. So it's not about what it looks like or the decorations, but rather what it felt like and how people can come in to enjoy authentic African meals in the most nutritional and healthiest way one can imagine, which is like, avoiding processed products, avoiding too much oil or fatty things, avoiding chemicals and all that. So we try to make everything to be as natural as possible. And it's not just about the food or the vibe or the decorations that we have there. We also try to entertain our guests, So sometimes, I mean, not every day, while having their quick lunch, that they can listen to some nice African drums or African music or entertainment while enjoying their lunch or dinner. Yes.
So let me ask you, you have this warm atmosphere, and I love your logo or your tagline, your catchphrase, Africa in every bite. How has Enugu been received in Puebla? And do you have a atypical customer? You're near a medical university, you're near a hospital. Um, who are the people that frequent Enugu in Puebla? Who eats your food rather?
Right. Let's start with the logo you talked about. If you look at the logo very well, personally, I don't like to reveal what it means or what it or
Okay,
well,
okay.
but people to use their own artistic approach to see if they can decode it in my own thoughts or if they can come up with their own connection with the logo. Some people have said, "Oh, it looks like hands showing love like this." Some people think it's what do you call it, eyes, looking at, and others think it's like two people together. And some people say, "Oh, it looks like a heart," and all that. So yeah, it has different definition from different angles, And but let's keep the logo aside for now. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
initially my target um, was for the students, and that's because today many students don't really have time to cook back home or to have healthy meals due to their timing or their lifestyle. They just want something real quick. They just want like chicken
Hmm.
wings or something fatty or something real quick. So that was like our major target at the beginning, and that was why it was very, very much affordable. But then we got surprised that other people working around the vicinity, the neighborhood, kept coming and coming. So I'd say we are mixed, so we don't really have a specific public. Initially, it was like for students, but many people have been surprising us online, placing their orders or visiting us like that. Some come with their kids and they feel very happy with the results, and that is what we just want to focus on. So we don't really have any age range or any specific public as such, but I believe it's been mixed to this point.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, how are they receiving the food, your customer? What do they say about your food, your jollof, your okra, your agusi? What do they say? Your stew? What's a popular dish? That's a good question too. What is a popular dish that people tend to order?
Okay, we try to promote okra, which is your favorite, and other
Mhm.
African soups. In most cases, we've gotten like this shocked response where they talk about the kind of pepper we use, or they're very curious to know what kind of seeds or ingredients we're using. So they're like more curious to know what exactly they're having. And of course, they always scrape their plates empty. And in most cases, they leave a tip, which we try to make the public understand that it's not mandatory. But I mean, I know it's part of the Mexican culture, but I want them to understand that they don't have to feel the obligation to do it. They just have to do it because they feel satisfied or very happy with the results.
Mhm. Mhm.
I tip says it all because in most cases they always leave good tips or good comments, and if the quantity of the food turns out to be like a little bit much, they don't even um ask us to keep it. They're like, please, can I take it away? And we're like, yeah, no matter if it's like 3 or 4 or 5 spoons left, they want someone in their family to try it because it's something really exotic, something new, something different, something they've never tried. One of our greatest meals would be ramen. The spinach ramen. It's spinach ramen because we try to make it like dry. and it's not like soupish, the way we have it, as we mostly do. So it's dry, and then it contains spinach. So it's like another way of enjoying your spinach vegetable, which is something many people don't consume today. In most salads, people would go for like lettuce or cabbage and all that stuff, but most people don't eat spinach. So yeah, they enjoy that one a lot, as well as another one we call egusi. Egusi is the melon seed, with fufu. And I think it's something very close to a Mexican dish, like their pipian down here. So this is something that our customers have enjoyed the most. So they were like, "Can I have egusi? Can I have egusi to take away? Can I have 5 egusis for me and my co-workers?" No, that yeah, I'm very positive we are sending the right signal to the public, and they're responding positively well.
Let me ask you because, if you're not on TikTok, remember we discussed TikTok.
Yeah, we did.
TikTok has trends, right? There are things that trend: music, food, different things. And one of the things that was trending was particularly Nigerian food, Ghanaian food, West African food. You saw all sorts of influencers eating our food.
Right.
Eating West African food, and even to Lauren Hardy. What is her name? Steve Hardy's stepchild, his wife's daughter. She even did a video eating, I think it was egusi, but I know it was fufu and some type of stew. So my point is, my question to you is, do you know if any of your customers have mentioned maybe seeing an influencer, on social media eating Nigerian food or eating any type of West African food, and maybe that sparked them or motivated them to come and eat your food? Did anyone ever mention that to you? I'm just curious.
Yes, of course. Most of them from the internet. Maybe they found us online and they're like, "Oh, I know
Mhm.
this food somewhere, or they've tried it somewhere, or they've heard about
Okay.
it." And they contact us and then place their orders. So yeah.
Okay.
And recently we had like a family. I think it was a couple and a little boy of about 4 or 5 years old, and they ordered okra for the boy. And I tried to explain the food to them. I was like, "Okay, this dish is commonly enjoyed with the hands, your bare hands, and it's okra. You have to make like these balls out from the fufu, which is like the masa." And I was trying to explain this dish to this couple, and the father was like, "Yes, yes, yes, we already know it." And he likes okra, and I was shocked. So they were like cutting me off because they didn't need any further explanation. And yeah, so that was one of our most recent encounter. But yeah, we've gotten like a few people that they've seen us somewhere in the internet, or they've tried African food on one of their trips, or in a different country, and they're very glad to have something like that here. And I do have another one. I think even though he's Nigerian, one of his best friends happens to be Mexican, and they do come together a lot. And this particular guy always requests for stew. So somehow he prefers his fufu with stew. So he's like, add enough of habanero, put this and take that out and blah blah blah. But he wants his fufu with stew. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I respect it. I respect it. And I really think, a lot of the times I think our foods are complementary, the guisados, the rice, and I think a lot of our food is complementary. And then, you have the whole African influence here as
Right.
well. A lot of people don't know the jamaica and different things. The tamales, cooking it in a corn husk or a banana leaf or plantain leaf, that's very African. Um, it sounds like you've been received well by the locals. Let me ask you, as an entrepreneur, as a serial entrepreneur, because ladies and gentlemen, she went to university here. She's really the definition of an Afro-Mexicana. She's fluent in Spanish. She's made a successful life here, and she's an entrepreneur. The term that a friend of mine who's she's Yoruba, Yetunde, she calls herself a serial entrepreneur, and I would categorize Chef Luci as a serial entrepreneur. This is not what we say her first rodeo. She's had other businesses here, in Mexico. As an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman here in Mexico, um, what are the challenges of maintaining businesses here or being an entrepreneur? Someone who's who works for themselves, who's creative. What challenges have you encountered with that, particularly as an immigrant, as a black woman?
Right. Well, my nature. of being an international person or an immigrant has not really affected my fields of different projects that I have established here. But I think one of my major challenges would be finding people with the right mindset. So sometimes I have like these ideas or how I'd like to improve the service or make certain adjustments in the business, and they always find it really hard um, to connect with me on that. So I think it's just finding the people with the right mind. Apart from that, I think the government has been very supportive in terms of the system. It's very organized. It's something you can easily follow the procedures and follow the right steps, of course, so that you can register your business, have everything checked, provide the necessary documents and make everything okay. And then you won't have any stress or problem, and of course, put in the hard work so that you can start seeing results in a short to long term. And when it comes to employing people, I think that has been like my major challenge in most businesses here. Yeah, talking from my daycare in Puebla when I was working with children in Montessori method, or when I had like my beauty school here in Mexico, or my traveling agency, among other projects as well. So
You had a beauty school. Oh, we have to talk about that.
yeah,
My
yeah,
mom, my mom owned a beauty salon in New York. I'm a beautician's kid, so that's a special place in my heart. You had a beauty school. Very interesting. Very cool. Muy chido.
okay. Maybe we can leave that for another day too, so we don't.
Okay. 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 All right. Let me ask you, um, how is Mexico and Nigeria alike, and how are they different?
Oh, let's start with the difference because I think in terms of differences, don't really have much to see there. Um, it has to do with the cultural part. It has to do with certain things that they have very triangular in their lifestyle. By triangular, I mean it's like full. Oh, it's my innovative word. So it's like they sometimes do something the same way and repeat it repeatedly. For example, um, it's salsa, and this is how it's danced. So some particular songs have a specific way or pattern that you must follow. Whereas in Nigeria or our culture, you follow the vibe of the music, you express yourself. Maybe you can add one or two particular step that goes with that music or kind of song, but we still go with the flow. Another example would be how you see men standing up with for a lady to sit down. It's something that is not very common in our culture, and having like all these Mexican traditions like Day of the Dead, or their way of celebrating their religious here, which is Catholic. So the way they express their religious lifestyle here is to something very much different. For example, women would wear pants to church without headgear. Their church services would be like real quick, like 30 minutes. Whereas in Nigeria, you need to wear like this long skirts, you need to close your hair. Well, today, many women don't really respect that much, but that was how it used to be. And most church services would take like 1 or 2 hours long. And what else? I think it has to do mostly with the lifestyle. So somehow they're very like, triangular here, while back home we're like on a very different level. Um, then in terms of similarities, I think that they're very friendly, they're very warm. And a Mexican would freely invite their neighbors to come over to have lunch or to join them. In Nigeria, maybe they wouldn't invite you like that, but they could send you like a basket of food, like an interchange of food when they have like their Muslim celebrations or Christian celebrations and all that. So it's a way of like interchanging meals and celebrating the moments with your neighbors. So somehow, I think we have a lot of things in common. Of course, we don't want to talk about the government here, and we don't want to go into the health sector because I think it's an area that we can see the obvious difference between both worlds. And what else? Similarities. Yeah, we have some things back to the food. that are very similar. Let's take
Hmm.
it's like their paella here. Paella is originally from Spain, but it's also part of like the Mexican cuisine
Hmm.
here. Or their rice. Their rice.
Paella is originally from Senegal and the Gambia,
Oh, okay,
and
right. You told me
and
something.
then it went north, and then the Moors took it over to Spain, because what do Europeans know about rice production? Rice is a West African, North African thing. So
Wow.
paella, the original root of paella is the cheb, which is rice for the Wolof language. So Senegal, the Gambia, it's a UNESCO World Heritage dish, the
Wow.
what we call the jollof rice. So yes,
Interesting.
but you're right. You're right. The paella, came from Africa, went through Europe, and then it's been interpreted here in Mexico. But you know, I don't enjoy eating rice here. It's just unfortunate. I don't like the way the rice is made here, the red rice at all. It just I'm wistful. I get so wistful
Oh,
when
okay.
I'm served it. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. There's similarities in the food, um, and I think that's a beautiful bridge, for the two cultures. Um, how supportive is the African diaspora community for Enugu in Puebla? How many do you have? A lot of people who are either African or African descent or Black in general that support your restaurant, that have frequented your restaurant.
You are definitely one of them. you know. So yeah,
I
yeah,
will
we
travel for good food. That's a fact.
like what 2 3 hours drive. I was so honored, and even though we were
Mhm.
like already closing and I was extremely exhausted, I was looking for every way possible to give back that love, because I was like, wow, this is just too much for me. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we do get support from the Nigerians and other Africans here, um, mostly Nigerians, Congolese, some friends from South Africa, even some Jamaicans. So yeah, they do come around. They've given us all that love. I hope more people will find us, more people will come, not just for the food, but also to get connected and see how we can all grow together and continue
Oh,
to build.
absolutely. A lot of my sisters in different groups, my sisters from the States, that love African food or just curious about it, they've promised to visit you, my sisters from the States. So people will be coming and they will continue to come. Can you
All
share with us? Oh, absolutely. Can you share with us? You said that you sometimes your goal is to have a cultural immersive space, to mix the Mexican culture with the Nigerian culture and the greater West African culture. Can you talk to us about some of the things that you're going to do for Enugu?
right. We have this window of opportunity where we're trying to like blend indigenous Mexicans, because we're still trying to respect Mexican space here. And of course,
Absolutely.
we're trying to bring our Afro descendants together. So this movement is actually called Enugu Village, Puebla. And the reason is creating this space where people can come together, not just to sell their local handmade items, but also to try international meals, international cuisines, where everyone can come by to try different stuffs, and of course listen to different music, dancing, and all that. Yeah.
Okay, I look forward to that, and I will definitely support and share this. Let me
Right.
ask you, when you mentioned that there's the different places that people are from, obviously Mexico, as well as people from the diaspora who frequent your restaurant, who support your food. I'm curious because I'm making a more of an effort to be more intentional with connecting with the diaspora. The name of my radio program is the Bangura Chronicles Diaspora Voices. So
Right.
basically, I want to know if there are certain areas where where Black immigrants are concentrated. Like I know when my daughter and we went through what is this in Nuevo Leon, Monterrey, and there were a lot of Black immigrants. I don't think we've seen so many Black people in Mexico at one time as when we were in Monterrey. So my question to you is, Do you know where there are pockets of Black immigrants throughout Mexico? I mean, obviously, I guess Mexico City because it's the capital, and I met the two brothers that were at your restaurant. Do you know any other areas where there are a lot of Black immigrants? I guess Tijuana is another place.
Um, I wouldn't use the word like a fixed place as such, but we do have lots of activities going on. We have this one called Diaspora in Mexico City. It's I think it's more for like, um all age to come together, dance, have fun, socialize, drink, and all that. Then we have the second, an amazing movement called Afro Roots Bazaar. Afro Roots Bazaar, it's a movement that we have been pushing together to bring all the Afro descendants together where they can sell and exhibit their products and, of course, reconnect, dance, have fun, and have this massive mixture with everyone else from different parts of the world. It's a very safe gathering where children also can be part of the entertainment or the fun. So it's more like a social gathering for both kids and adults. You see here. So going back
Is
to
that the bazaar takes place in Mexico City?
right,
Okay.
most of these activities do take place in Mexico City. Um, we hope to visit other states in the future where we can have like at least a monthly or periodical movement where people can have the opportunity to partake in this African magic that we're trying to promote here in Mexico.
Very good. Let me ask you, speaking of, raising the profile of the African descendant Black people, um, what did you think of the census that happened, I guess in 20, we were in the census that came, I think we were in COVID 2020. And we were so excited when the INEGI, that's the acronym for the people who do the portion of the government that takes care of the census, and I forget what it stands for, but it's INEGI, INEGI.
Right.
Um, what did you think about, Afro-Mexicans being counted on the census 2 years ago, I believe it was?
Unfortunately, I do not have a concrete or clear answer to that because 2 years
Okay.
ago the country, and I have not really been very conscious about the whole Inegi exercise. So,
Okay.
not something I'm very familiar with. Mhm.
Okay. Well, let me ask you. You had, when we met, you had shared with me why, if you feel comfortable sharing, why Enugu in Puebla. What made Puebla the place for you to start this venture with your African restaurant, your Nigerian restaurant, your movement? Why did you choose Puebla?
Okay, a couple of years ago, I used to have my daycare here in the city, and due to some personal challenges, I had to change city. So I left Puebla for some time. I went down to Cuernavaca, and of course, I also visited other states like Cancun and DF and Querétaro, San Luis Potosí, other places to see if I could connect with not only the place but the people, and to see if they've gotten like the resources or the right atmosphere for what I was. I did everything possible to avoid coming back to Puebla because I believe that when we make changes or when we move forward, it's always for like the best in most cases. So since I already left Puebla, I had no intention of coming back here. I didn't want anything that would, trigger some kind of emotions or get, nostalgic and all that, or run into old friends that might, start, trying to open up some past histories and all that. So I did everything to avoid Puebla. But unfortunately, it turned out to be the best state for Enugu, not just because of the population of the people here, but also the climate here just seems to be perfect because it's like a fresh climate. It's not as contaminated as other places. The traffic is somehow friendly. The lifestyle here seems to be like, average. So you don't feel that much pressure compared to other places. And you don't feel it to be like a very low profile state. No, I mean, it's the opposite in this case. So I've gotten to see that Puebla gave me all the elements that I needed to set up Enugu. the geographical location, the population of the people, the financial status of the state, the resources or some ingredients that we could use here, and given that there is no much traffic, so it's something we could easily deliver meals or what do you call it, yeah, services to our clients out there. So somehow Puebla just caught my heart and we decided to set it here. Yeah.
Puebla fit. And I just want to share that, Puebla is our neighbor. It's our vecino to Veracruz. It's the next state over. We share the Pico, I forget the Popo. I don't want to mispronounce the original name of Pico de Orizaba, but it's nice that she's not too far away. But even if she was in Quintana Roo, I would have made my way there. Um, what I want to ask you about now is someone who's out there listening to this, maybe another woman, black woman who maybe is in Nigeria, or maybe she's in the States or whatever. What advice would you give her if she's interested in possibly making a life here in Mexico? Making a life here in Mexico, thriving, being successful, and maybe also opening up a business. If she's a person who's entrepreneurial, what would you say to that person? What
Right.
advice would you give them? Mhm.
Okay, my advice to not just the women out there or to the young ones or to the men out there is it's not about where you're going in this world or this place called home. It's about who you are or what you are from where you're coming. But it's about what you're going to do to the world out there. And if it's what you're looking for, it's about how to survive out there. Many people leave the shores of Africa or different countries hoping to find greener pastures and all that out there, as if it's something you could easily pluck from a tree. But you need at least some certain knowledge, tools, and preparation before leaving your place of comfort. So you must see yourself as someone that is going into the jungle, ready for the worst. You have to prepare yourself. And by this, I mean physically, because money will always come. The money will always come if you have the right tools, if you have the right formation. You may not go to like a formal school, but then you can pay attention to people, learn things, pick up knowledge. It's important you have at least some certain training, basic, for example. I'm very grateful to my parents who, at the age of what, 7, 8, 9, they made sure they started sending us to the kitchen to help a little bit, even if it meant cutting onion or paying attention to what was being done in the kitchen. And it was fun for us because my mom back then would always give us little fish or something to taste. I was like, oh, so we had fun in the kitchen, learning, paying attention to all those details. Even though we had all those maids and all that, but they made sure that they were instilling such education in us to help us survive in anywhere. Apart from other careers that I have studied, it turned out to be that cooking has been a magical science and art at the same time. So it's something I personally enjoy and see it as a hobby, you know, and I make sure that everybody feels and gets that best part. So going back to our advice, I'd say get ready. If it's mechanical you want to learn, don't look at it as an underpaid job or something that is not doing well in some countries. See it as a tool of survival because you never know where you'd find an opportunity tomorrow. It could be being an electrician or a plumber or a cook, you know. So it's important you have like different skills. I mean, life is so beautiful, and if you can do like more things together and maybe probably channel your energy to the one you enjoy the most, then just leave
Mhm.
the other, extras or plus, then you're good to go.
Yeah,
So we
I agree. Mhm.
so dear women, men, and children out there, if you must leave the shores of your comfort, if you must go to other places, let it not be about where you're going. It's not about going to Europe or to the US or other economical stronger countries. It's about what you would do there and how to survive if that plan A you have doesn't work. What else would you
Mhm.
do? So always get prepared. And yeah.
That's very sound advice. Speaking of which, about preparing and having a goal in mind, what would you say are your the greatest lessons that Mexico has taught you? What have you learned about yourself, life in general, that maybe Mexico or Mexican people help you to realize? What are your takeaways with that?
um it's a lot that I have learned here because I came in as a very innocent teenager, you know. So apart from all the shocks and challenges, everything that I went through, I believe Mexico, apart from being home, and by home I mean it gives you that warmth, it gives you that security, it gives you that welcomeness many other countries would not, you know. Mexico or Mexicans are the loveliest people I have ever come across. My fear here actually is for Mexicans to never change. I hope they continue to be this sweet and their culture and their lifestyle preserved. No matter how many immigrants we have here, I hope and pray that their originality is never taken away from them. Now, going back um, to what Mexico has given to me. I think it's that empowerment, that self empowerment. You know, coming to a country with no parents, with no siblings, with no family. You know, staying here for like many years. At the beginning, it was really hard. And of course, traveling down to Africa wasn't something that cheap. It wasn't something anybody would want to like just, grab your bags and do. So Mexico taught me that we are one, and no matter the distance or wherever one can be, you can always find home wherever you are. And having that internal strength to accomplish your goals is something Mexico has also instilled in me. So somehow placing different projects um, is something I just find really interesting. I don't feel that fear of what would people say, what would people do, would people come and all that. No, I just feel that excitement because I know I'm home. I know Mexico has got my back, and the people here will just support you. And I'm gracefully to God, I have never really faced any form of racism here in Mexico. I have felt mostly loved and acceptance from them. So each time I try to do any project, anything, they will always be behind me. And when I look left and look right and look for my African brothers or Africans that I'm hoping that might give me that support, they are not here because they are far away. But then Mexico still gives you that security and that support to move on. Right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I would hope that from this interview, people have had the opportunity to learn a little bit about you, Chef Lucy, and to learn where your heart is concerning, your Enugu restaurant in Puebla, your intentions for the restaurant, the love that you get from the locals, the love that what I call it the Mexican love. I call it Mexican love when we have these beautiful encounters with people, particularly when me and my daughter travel. I mean, within our city, of course, but also when we're traveling, we always have these good interactions. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud
Like
and
I was
clear.
saying. Okay. So, like I said, like you mentioned, the Mexican love, and how nice, people are and how kind they've been to you and how supportive they've been to you. um I guess the final thing I would probably ask now is, do you have anything that you regret about your life in Mexico or your career? Anything that if you could do it over again you would change uh for the better?
Right. You know, I wouldn't have like a direct answer to that, but I would twist your question. This was particularly what I was discussing with a friend a while ago when people use the word regret. And my question to him was, who defines regret and who defines, what do you call it, success? You know, I believe everything is a process and everything is a moment. And without regrets, one would not learn. So I wouldn't call it regrets, but I would call them steps into the right phase of accomplishment. So I needed all those mistakes, if I would call them mistakes. I needed all those decisions. I needed all those trials. I needed all those challenges that I faced to help me be the woman I am today. So personally, I do not believe in the word regret. I don't even know who invented that word, but I believe everything is a process and the moment should be lived and appreciated without being judgmental or
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Can you please share with us, the where we can find you online as well as physically, the Enugu Restaurant in Puebla. So please stop by and partake of her delicious, delicious food. It's cooked with love, and there's like she said, cooking is an art. It's alchemy. um it's spiritual. You could tell if someone is cooking with love and they put all their good intentions into it, and that's what her food is like. There are some places you go to and you could tell this is not rubbish. So please share with us how we can find you online and how we can physically find you in Puebla at Enugu.
thank you very much, Roxana. Um, we're a stone throw away from Buap, which is like a medical university there in Puebla. We're on Calle 27 Poniente, which is 27 Poniente, and 17 Sur, which is 17 South. You can just Google us on Waze or WhatsApp, or sorry, on Waze or Google or what do you call it? What do you call the other one we used to search? Waze,
Bing,
Bing.
Waze, WhatsApp,
Thank you. Even Google Earth.
Bing. Hmm.
Find us on Google and you'll find our address there, right? Then in
Hmm.
terms of our social handles, we use Enugu Afro Cuisine. Cuisine, which is Cuisine. So Enugu Afro Cuisine. And our secondary project, which I mentioned earlier, is Enugu Village Puebla. And what is Enugu Village Puebla about? Which I already explained. It's a small community where we're trying to um, promote our African movement here, but with an infusion with the Mexicans and the Mexican indigenous here. So we hope you guys can participate. We do it every month, and it's an opportunity to come try some of our free meals for the day. And of course, the prices on the menu are also very different. Then you get to see other indigenous people and other artistic productions that they have. So yeah, Enugu Afro Cuisine and Enugu Village Puebla. Thank you.
You got that? Enugu, 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 and that is the name of Chef Luci's restaurant in Puebla. The Diaspora Voices, the Bangura Chronicles Diaspora Voices. Thank you, Chef Lucy, for taking the time to chat with us today. And listen to this on Black Sit Radio. My show is on Sundays, I believe at noon. Sundays at noon, you can hear me talk to individuals from all over, but in particularly in Mexico, and we share our immigrant expat experiences here. And if you want to chat with me, I'm down. Contact me. I could be found Roxana Bangura, the Bangura Chronicles. On Facebook and the Roxana Bangura channel on YouTube. It's getting dark here. I'm losing light. Um,
Oh,
thank
we can
you. Thank you.
see you.
Yeah, you see it's getting dark and I have a light behind me, but the sun is setting, but this is the winter time. Thank you,
Uh,
Chef Lucy.
you very
Enugu Restaurant. Thank
much.
you. Okay, hold on one second. Let me just stop the recording. All right.
May I use